The dashboard clock glowed 3:17 a.m. as Susan Baker pressed a trembling hand to her neck, warm blood seeping through her fingers, staining the white pillowcase. In the dim moonlight filtering through their Louisville bedroom curtains, her husband, Thomas, froze, the glass of water in his hand shattering on the hardwood floor. Something moved beneath her skin, something alive. "Call 911, Susan whispered, her voice steady despite the terror clawing her chest. What was escaping her body? And would they uncover its truth before it was too late? Susan Baker, 63, had faced countless crises in her 40 years as an ER nurse. Her silver-streaked hair framed a face etched with the lines of night shifts, her calm demeanor a lifeline for grieving families. Her husband, Thomas, 65, a retired Navy SEAL, his trembling hands behind his coffee mug, a secret he buried in routine. Their colonial home on Maple Street, Louisville, was Susan's sanctuary, her wicker chair on the porch where she sipped sweet tea, watching fireflies dance under Kentucky's summer sky. The neighborhood, with its neatly trimmed lawns and nosy neighbors like Abigail Johnson, felt safe, predictable, until that July morning in 2025. 7 years ago, a lump appeared on Susan's neck. Her doctor called it a lipoma, harmless, common for her age. She trusted her training, ignored it, just as she ignored Thomas's occasional memory lapses or the reading glasses she now needed. But at 3 a.m., she woke to a wet pillow, her fingers brushing a pulsing warmth. The lump was bleeding, moving. "Tom," she gasped, feeling an impossible shift beneath her skin, like a creature stirring. Thomas dropped his glass, shards scattering across the hardwood, his weathered face paling. "Jesus Christ," he muttered, fumbling for his phone. "Call 911, Susan said, her nurse's composure cracking as she pressed a towel to her neck, the cotton soaking red. The ambulance screeched up in 7 minutes, an eternity as Susan sat on the bed, her mind racing. Had her hours in the garden, tending medicinal herbs. Expose her to this? The young paramedic, barely older than their daughter Jessica, asked, "When did the bleeding start?" Susan's reply was clinical. "Around 3 a.m. wetness woke me. The lump's been there years, never bled." She hesitated, then added, "It moved." The paramedic's eyes widened, but he bandaged her neck. "We're going to University Hospital." As they wheeled her out, Abigail's curtains twitched across the street, her silhouette a silent witness. Susan caught Thomas's confused glance when she mentioned his doctor's appointment. "Grab my purse, the blue one, and call Dr. Mendez," she called, noting his hesitation. Those lapses were more frequent, a shadow she hadn't confronted. In the ER, a place Susan knew as a nurse but not as a patient, Dr. Amanda Carter, young and sharp-eyed, probed the wound. The fluorescent lights buzzed, casting harsh shadows on the sterile walls. 7 years. Carter asked, her pen light catching something that made her pause. "I need another opinion." Thomas gripped Susan's hand, his tremor stark against her steady pulse. "What did she see?" he whispered. Susan, her instincts screaming, had no answer. Dr. Richard Hoffman, an oncologist, arrived, his presence chilling. Lipomas didn't need oncologists. "Unusual tissue formations," he said, his face unreadable. "We need a CT, maybe an MRI, an infectious disease." Susan blurted, "It moved." The doctor's glance wasn't dismissal. It was concern. The next hours blurred. A CT scan where the technician's eyebrows shot up, blood samples rushed to the lab, biopsy form signed. Susan's phone buzzed. 3 missed calls from Jessica, their 38-year-old neurologist daughter in San Francisco. Their relationship, strained by distance and old arguments over money, wasn't ready for this. Dr. Michael Preston, infectious disease specialist, delivered the verdict. Cutaneous myiasis, parasitic larvae in the lipoma tissue. Susan's garden flashed in her mind. Chamomile, echinacea, hours kneeling in soil. Had it betrayed her? Surgery was set to remove the larvae and lipoma. Thomas paced, his anxiety a mirror to hers. "All these years," he muttered, "and we never knew." Jessica called again. "Mom, what's wrong?" Her voice sharp with intuition. Susan sighed. "University Hospital." The lump's a parasitic infection. Surgery's tomorrow. Jessica was resolute. I'm flying in tonight. Thomas, guilt in his eyes, said she shouldn't drop everything. Susan's reply carried weight. Some things matter more than careers. As Jessica raced to Louisville, questions loomed. Why had the lump gone undetected so long? Was it a freak accident? Or something sinister? What would you do if you felt something alive under your skin? The kitchen clock ticked past 7 p.m. Cicadas humming through the open window of the Baker's Louisville home. Susan, 3 months post-surgery, sat at the table, her fingers tracing a medical bill. $3, $8.42 for the anesthesiologist, a reminder the parasite's now gone. The scar on her neck, still pink, itched under her touch. Thomas flipped through his notebook, his shaky handwriting logging Parkinson's trial notes, his coffee mug trembling slightly on the table. Jessica, chopping peppers for stir-fry, broke the silence. Dr. Abernathy wants to fund a pilot study for your herbal remedies, Mom, she said, her knife's rhythm sharp. He also said you missed your trial check-in, Dad. Thomas's hand froze, his tremor stark. Rescheduled. Bad day, he said gruffly. Susan's stomach tightened. He hadn't mentioned a bad day. Was he hiding more? The air felt thick, heavy with the unspoken. Jessica's move to Louisville and her new role at University Hospital had brought hope, but the revelation about the Virginia property, sold to fund her medical school, had left a wound. Jessica's anger was quiet, sharp, cutting deeper for its restraint. Susan wanted to bridge the gap, but every attempt felt like navigating a minefield. The doorbell rang, slicing the tension. Martha Collins stood at the door, her grandson Ethan clutching an origami crane, his leukemia-weakened face bright. For you, Mrs. Baker, he said, his small hands trembling. Susan knelt, her throat tight. It's beautiful, Ethan. Martha's weather hand rested on his shoulder. Heard about your job offer. Susan. The hospital's lucky. Susan forced a smile, the bill's weight lingering. I'm still thinking it over. Back in the kitchen, Jessica plated the stir-fry, her expression taut. Take the job, Mom. It's what you love. The subtext stung, unlike the secret you kept. Susan opened her mouth, but Thomas's chair scraped. Turning in early, he said, avoiding their eyes. Susan watched him climb the stairs, each step slower, his silhouette framed by the dim hall light. Was he hiding more than a missed appointment? She thought of his memory lapses, forgetting the grocery list, repeating stories. Parkinson's or something else. On the porch, fireflies blinked in the dusk as Jessica handed Susan chamomile tea. The air smelled of honeysuckle, but the calm felt fragile. I didn't mean to snap, Jessica said softly. The farm. You sold your history for my future, and I didn't know. Susan touched her scar, the rough line a reminder of truths uncovered. We thought we were protecting you. We were wrong, Jess. Jessica's eyes were distant, reflecting the porch light. Why didn't you trust me? I was an adult. Susan's heart ached. She wanted to explain the fear of burdening her daughter, the instinct to shield her from their sacrifices, but words felt inadequate. A car's headlights cut through the dark. Dr. Amanda Carter stepped out, her face pale under the porch light. Susan, I'm sorry to come so late, she said, her voice urgent. The lab found a synthetic compound in your tissue samples. Jessica stood, her neurologist's instinct sharp. What kind? Amanda hesitated. Not naturally occurring. It might explain why the parasite survived so long. Susan's pulse quickened. Deliberately, Amanda nodded. Possibly. Susan, any unusual procedures in the last 7 years? Susan shook her head, her mind racing to her garden. Cuts from thorns, scrapes from tools, hours in the soil. Had something slipped through? A neighbor's shadow, Abigail Johnson, flickered across the street, watching. What did she know? Jessica's voice was steel. We need every detail, Mom. If someone did this, who? The parasites weren't an accident. They might be a crime. Susan's sanctuary felt tainted, her trust shaken. Who in her life could have done this? And what would you do if your safe haven hid a dangerous secret? Sunlight bathed Susan's garden, painting the echinacea in gold, but the beauty felt hollow. Kneeling among her herbs, Susan pulled weeds with gloved hands, her movements precise despite the unease gnawing at her. The synthetic compound, a banned pesticide, suggested someone had targeted her. Her chamomile patch, once a refuge, now felt like a crime scene. Had a cut from a rose thorn or a contaminated tool let this nightmare into her body. The air smelled of earth and lavender, but each breath carried suspicion. Inside, Thomas's voice drifted through the window, strained as he spoke to his neurologist. No new symptoms, he said, but Susan knew he was hiding memory lapses, forgetting the truck's parking spot, repeating questions twice in an hour. They needed to talk, all three of them. Jessica arrived, her car loaded with boxes from her San Francisco condo, her new Louisville apartment still half unpacked. "Mom, no heavy lifting," she said, stepping into the garden, her boots sinking into the soft earth. "We need to trace that pesticide." Susan's gaze flicked to the garden gate, where Abigail Mitchell's shadow vanished. Was the nosy neighbor too curious? Over coffee, they built a timeline in the kitchen, the air thick with the scent of roasted beans. The lump appeared 7 years ago, when Susan expanded her garden with plants from Greenhaven Nursery. "Did you test the soil?" Jessica asked, her pen scratching notes. Susan shook her head. "I trusted Greenhaven." A memory surfaced, a batch of compost with sharp, chemical smell, dismissed as organic variation. Had it been a clue? They drove to Greenhaven, the nursery's sprawling lot vibrant with blooms under Kentucky sun. Clara Evans, wiry and in her late 50s, greeted them. "Susan, you okay after your scare?" Her smile was warm, but Susan's question was blunt. "Any issues with your compost 7 years ago?" Clara's smile faltered, her eyes darting to a stack of pots. "No, we test everything." Records from them burned in a fire. Her quick recovery felt rehearsed. Jessica whispered, "She's hiding something," as they left. Susan noticed Clara's hands fidgeting, a bead of sweat on her brow despite the cool air. Was it guilt or just nerves? Back home, Susan walked her garden, examining every plant, every tool. A rusted trowel near the chamomile caught her eye, its handle slick with an unnatural residue. She bagged it for testing, her nurse's instincts screaming. The garden gate creaked. Abigail, watching again, her silhouette sharp against the dusk. What was she looking for? That evening Amanda arrived. "The pesticide's banned since 2015, she said. It created a perfect environment for the parasites. Jessica's voice was sharp. "Who had access to your garden, Mom?" Susan listed neighbors, kids, suppliers. "Too many." Her garden, open to the community, felt exposed. Jessica dug into Greenhaven's history, uncovering a 2014 EPA violation for mishandling that pesticide, the timing aligning with Susan's lump. "They called a mistake," Jessica said, showing the report. Had Clara knowingly sold tainted compost? Or was someone closer involved? Susan confronted Thomas in their bedroom, the lamplight casting shadows. "Tom, did you use anything in the garden I didn't know about? Pesticides, anything?" His face clouded, confusion raw. "I don't remember. Days when you were at the hospital, I helped out." His vulnerability shook her, but doubt lingered. Had his memory lapses hidden mistake? Or was someone else, Abigail, Clara, a stranger behind this? Who had access to her garden? And what would you do if you suspected a loved one's secret? Susan Baker's blood-soaked pillow unveiled a chilling truth. A lump dismissed as harmless hid parasites, possibly planted by a banned pesticide. The trail led to Greenhaven Nursery's murky past, but Clara's denials and lost records left a mystery unsolved. Was it negligence or malice? Susan's garden, her sanctuary, became a question mark, mirroring the secrets her family had walled off. Thomas's Parkinson's, the Virginia farm sold for Jessica's future. Honesty healed their fractures. Jessica returned to Louisville. Susan found purpose in a hospital role, and Thomas's trial offered hope. Yet the pesticide's origin remains a shadow, a scar like the one on Susan's neck. Sometimes the deepest healing comes from facing the unknown together. What secrets lurk in your safe spaces, waiting to unravel your world? Share your story.